A very warm welcome to all my dear students. First and the foremost, I welcome you all to the gateway of the world of commerce. As the students of intermediate first year, you are entering into your intermediate level with the subject called commerce. Let me introduce myself. I am Santosh Kumar Jain from Department of Commerce, St. Joseph Junior College, Timalgiri, which is managed by Hyderabad Archdaj Educational Society. It gives me immense happiness to stand before you and explain you about the subject called commerce. So let us start with the introduction to the subject of commerce. First and the foremost, we are supposed to know what does the word commerce it means. It's very simple to understand that the word commerce it means an activity which is dealing with exchange of goods and service. Just keep this basic in mind and then we'll go into the subject. Now here we are going to discuss few topics in the basics of introduction to business like the history of commerce in India, about the classification of activities, about the business organization, that is its features, objectives, and the social responsibility. So, to start with, the word commerce is derived from the Latin word commercium, which means an activity which involves the exchange of goods and services. So, here we are going to first look into the history of commerce in India. To be frank enough, commerce is as old as civilization, but it was unknown to the people till certain era. As you know that the civilization as it creeps, the new evolutions they lead to the specialization. In that sense, we can group the phases of history of commerce into six different parts, or you can call six different stages. And the first stage is called as household economy. In this stage, we all know that the man was not that civilized, or you can say they were not civilized at all. And in this stage, only the priority was given to hunting, fishing, cultivation. In the sense, there were no commercial activities at all. There were no commercial activities at all, and that led only to the limited scope of the activity for themselves, for their livelihood. Slowly, as the man began to civilize himself, as the population started to increase, the people started to shift from one place to another place, and that led to the community development, which we call as races. And in this stage, the people started to have their own occupation. They started to specialize themselves and they opted for the medium to change the goods for goods, which was called as the barter system. Even in this stage, money was not used, or there was no medium called money. And slowly, what happened? This barter system it led to the development of commerce, we can say, but without money, without currency. And as such, it led to the rise of trade. In the sense, since the people started to scatter themselves to different places, the market also developed, and that led to the development of trade. And in this stage, the trade was confined to a limited area only, and that limited area was none but like a home trade, we can call. In the sense, the development or the goods were exchanged within the scope of their particular area, and from there the trade went into the town economy in the sense where it gave birth to wholesalers and retailers. And these wholesalers and retailers, they started to produce the goods not only for a confined area but also for the different areas. Say for example, a person who was in Tamil Nadu, he started to produce certain goods and he transported those goods to people who are in Delhi. In that way, we can say the town economy, in the sense the home trade, it started to develop. And as a matter, the development was taking place and industrial revolution came into existence. And that industrial revolution, it led to the development of international trade, that is foreign trade. In this stage, we can say that till the town economy, we can call it that it was the traditional commerce. And from this stage, that is the fifth stage, which is called as the international stage, from here the commerce took the shape of modern commerce. And today we see that this international trade, where the goods are exchanged, the commerce activities, the trade activities are going beyond the scope of the country also. And this stage, it led to the different outcomes like your banking, your transport, your advertisement, and so on. And from there till 1990, this international trade was developing and developing. And now today we see that the inventions, they led to the development of e-commerce. Early in the year 1990s, we can say that this e-commerce, in the sense with the usage of internet, we started to have our online shopping. We started to have our online commerce, that is buying and selling. And this e-commerce, we can say it is totally a modern commerce, which we'll discuss in our last session. Now coming towards the second topic called classification of human activity. Dear students, we know that every person in this world is the creation of God. And as the creation of God, we know that we have to do some work. Maybe to have the livelihood, or maybe to satisfy our desires and wants. So, as a matter, first thing we are supposed to know, what do we mean by the word activity? Activity, in simple terms, it is act of doing a specific work to get the satisfaction. There ends the matter. So the word activity itself says that it is an act of doing the work, and that act of doing the work, it is done by the human beings to earn, to live, and to enjoy. And those activities we group in the heading called human activities, which are the nuclear point for the emergence of commerce, business, trade, whatever we call. So now let us discuss the core concept called the classification of human activity. When we talk about classification of human activities, here the human activities can be grouped into two categories. We divide the human activities into two categories. The category number one is called as economic activity, and the second category is called non-economic activity. First one is economic activity and second one is non-economic activity. Now these two activities, we can say they are the focal point for the entire subject of the commerce. So first let us see about the non-economic activity, then we'll come to economic activity. When we talk about non-economic activity is an activity which is done by a person to with the motive of rendering services. It is not done to earn the profit. It is done out of love, out of passion, out of affection, out of patriotism. How so? Say for example, when your mother is cooking food for you, It means that she is not expecting anything in return from you, but she expects only your love and affection. Thereby, we call that as non-economic activity. In the similar manner, when you help a blind person to cross the road, or you make him to cross the zebra crossing, it means that you have done a non-economic activity. Once you make the person to cross the road, you will not expect him to give you 10 rupees or 20 rupees. Thereby, such activities are called non-economic activities. That is to say, those activities which are done with service motive are called non-economic activity. Their main focus is to render the services. Since the element called profit is not included in this particular activity, they are falling beyond the scope of the commerce. That is, we don't consider them into the business activities. But let me make it one thing clear. We have certain organizations like non-NGOs we call, they come under non-economic activity, that we are going to see in the later session. Now coming towards economic activity. Economic activity is an activity which is done by an individual, by an human being, to earn the profit. Service is not only the criteria in this economy or in the world, even the profits they matter. Thereby, the activities which are done by an individual to earn the profit are called economic activity. These economic activities are done with an intention to create the situation of commerce, and thereby these economic activities, we group them into three broad categories. One is called as, the first one is known as your business. The second one is called employment, and the third one is called as profession. Now, we here will take the opportunity to learn about each and every human activity, that is human economic activity. The first one is business, the second employment, and third is your profession. Now, coming towards the discussion on business. This is a very wide topic, but for time being, we are going to see only the narrow terms. What does the word business it means? Later, we are going to see the features and the objectives and its responsibility in detail. So first and foremost, when we take the word business, the word business, it means, and it is derived from the Latin word busy. Keep in mind, it is derived from the Latin word busy. And the word busy itself, literally it means keeping oneself engaged in some or the other activity. And why to keep someone into an activity? That activity which he keeps himself is called as state of being busy, and that is called as business. Today you see across the world that there are many business. When you look at a particular person who is standing beside the roadside and selling the fruit, you say, sir, he is doing a business. Ma'am, he is doing a business. When you look a person who is having a kirana shop, that is a grocery shop, you say he is conducting business. Like that, everyone knows literally that it is a activity which is done for what? To earn the profit. So here the focus is, what does the business it means? The word business, literally it is described as state of being busy. And that state of being busy, it means that it is an activity which is involved with production, distribution, exchange of wealth, exchange and conversion of wealth, in fact we can say. And that activity is done by a person who is called as businessman. A person who organizes or who conducts the business is called as businessman. Even this businessman in the modern day, he is described as entrepreneur also. We can designate him with the entrepreneur. And the reward for businessmen for the stress what he has taken is profit. The main purpose why a person does the business is to earn profit. Everyone cannot do the business. Very difficult for everyone to do the business. So what is the other alternative for the livelihood? Then have another activity which is called as employment and professional activity. When it comes to employment, employment is described as relationship between two persons, two individuals we can say, where one individual is providing certain quantum of work to other person, and that other person, he agrees to complete the work, he agrees to complete the work, and that kind of contractual relationship between two parties is called as employment. Here we have two parties, whereas in business there was one person who was called as businessman, and here in employment we have two parties, and those among those two parties, one is going to assign the work and other is willing to complete the work. The person who assigns the work under the terms and conditions is called employer. He is called as employer, who is designated even as master. And the person who agrees to discharge the work, the person who agrees to complete the work, the person who agrees to accomplish the work is called employee. And that employer and employee, where we come across the discharging of work, it is done for the consideration called salary or wage. Here, for the work assigned by the employer and for the work completed by the employee, the employer, who is master, will remunerate, in the sense will pay the person called employee with certain benefit in terms of money, which we call as salary or wage. And the third one comes about the profession. This profession, in fact, it is like a vocation or occupation. Vocation in the sense where you think that you are fit for that particular job, whereas occupation is also something which is very closely related to your vocation only. Now, for example, how to make you understand with the profession? You all may be aware about Javed Habib. You all may be aware about your Shehnaz Hussain. They are the beauticians we call. Similarly, Sanjay Kapoor is a master chef. Like that, we have in the economy, in the world, in the country, the people who are having their own talents and skills. These particular set of people, they first and the foremost, they try to educate themselves in that particular activity. They try to get trained into that activity, and that activity is called profession. In the sense, a person who involves himself in certain activity which is backed by educational qualification, which is backed by his inner talents and his expertise skills, can be grouped under the category called profession. Say for example, doctor. To become doctor, you know you have to complete your MBBS. Chartered accountant. To become a chartered accountant, you have to complete your CA course. To become lawyer, you have to complete your bachelor's of law. In the sense, compulsory educational qualification is an essential element for becoming a professional. So profession is something which is related with an occupation or vocation of a person, which is backed by the expertise, his skills, talent, and educational qualification. Now, this particular person, as we saw in business, he earns profit. In case of employment, he gets salary or wage. In the similar manner, in case of profession, what the professional man, one who is rendering services, is going to get. As a consideration for profession, he charges the amount which is called as fees. He collects fees. Say for example, when you go to doctor and after he heals, we cannot say, doctor, how much is your salary? We ask him, how much is your fees? When you go to a college, you ask, how much is the fees? You cannot say, how much is the salary? So in this way, the economic activity is classified into three categories. One, the business. Second one, the employment. And third one is the profession. For business, the reward is profit. For employment, the reward for employee is the wage or salary, whereas for employer, who is like a businessman, again for him it is profit, whereas for the profession, it is fees which he collects from his clients. This is the broad classification about the human activity. Now coming towards the third part, which is the most important part for discussion, is about the features of business. How to analyze the business, how a business looks, what are the characteristics if I want to call that it is a business. So there are few characteristics of business which are given, and those characteristics, when they are fulfilled, it is called as business. And the first character what we come across, the features of business, we can say that the first character is it is an economic activity. As I said that the first feature of business is an economic activity. It means that basically an activity which is done with an intention of producing goods and services and to earn the profit is called an economic activity. This is the basic characteristic feature of business. The second characteristic feature of business is the profit motive. Every business activity, any business activity which is done, it is done with an intention to earn profit. Profit is that element which is required by every business to sustain, to grow, to expand. Without profit, you cannot think about a business activity. So, profit is regarded as the basic element of business. Why? Because if there is no profit motive, then that goes into the non-economic activity. Thereby, the element called profit motive is. Then how to earn the profit? They say that the profit is to be earned with all the legal means. One should not follow illegal methods or should not follow the malpractices like wrong weights and measures or charging high prices. Profit should be earned but with all fair means. Then the third feature says that there should be continuity. The third feature says that there should be continuity. Continuity means what? Business itself is to done on regular basis. There should be continuity of transaction. It should not be in isolation. In the sense, for example, today if I buy a bicycle and if I sell to my friend, I cannot call that as a business activity. But same, if I establish a shop, a unit, and in that if I sell cycles regularly, then it becomes my business. Similarly, say for example, if I am cooking at my home as a master chef and serving to my own family members, it doesn't constitute business. But same if I cook for a person in the restaurant and sell, it becomes the business. Like that, continuity of transaction should be there. Regularly they should be transaction. Now what are to be transacted? Then they say that it deals with goods and services. Business, it deals with goods and services. Now the word goods, when we take the word goods, it refers to any merchandise, any product in which you are going to do the business. Say for example, for a grocer, I mean to say kirana shop, all the food items like your rice, dal, wheat, jawar, bajra, they are the goods. Similarly, say for example, for a sweet shop, it may be the samosa or whatever, they are goods. Then sir, what about services? Here when we talk about services, it can be a business of transport. As a travel agent, you are providing the services to various people by helping them, by giving them the transport like bus, like cab and so on. Thereby goods and services. So any activity which deals with goods and services is called as business activity. Now here when it comes to goods, goods are of two categories. One, they are called consumer goods and other is called as your capital goods. Consumer goods are those goods which are ready for consumption purpose. They are ready for consumption purpose. In the sense, they are in the form of commodity where you can use them directly. Say for example, your bread, your butter and so on. They are coming under the category called consumer goods. Whereas those goods which helps in the production of consumer goods are called capital goods. Like for example, all your equipment, your raw material, they come under the goods called capital. They are semi-finished you can call, or they are not in the what you would say final product form. Then comes business. The feature of business says that business creates utilities. Business creates utility. Here when we call about utility, utility means giving the importance to something. Creating a form into it is called as utility. As we know that there are four types of utilities: place, time, form and these utilities are to be created. For example, business helps in creating utility, means to say that it creates importance in that product. For example, log, wooden log, I mean to say, when it is in the forest, it is of no use. But the same wooden log, when it comes to market and when it is made into furniture, when it is transformed into furniture, it gets utility. But after creating them into or turning them into furniture, it is essential that it should be sold. Like that, we have to create stage by stage, the utility in the product, utility in the raw material. So business helps in creating utility. Then they say that even the business is like an art and science. In fact, business is art and science. Now, what makes business to be called as art and what makes business to be called as science? Art in the sense skill to do the business, to run the business, to organize the business, to conduct the business itself is a skill. Thereby, we call that it is an art. And while conducting the business, while fulfilling the business activities, we need to follow certain principles and laws. And that reason we call business as art as well as science. As it involves the skill and it is backed by certain principles and laws, we call it as art and skill. Then they say that As on today, business is acting as a social institution. Business is acting as a social institution. What makes business to be called as featured by the social institution? You know that in countries like India, where there is the problem of unemployment, in that situation, business is helping to give employment opportunity. As a result of employment opportunities, we know that the problem of unemployment is, and that leads to the improvement in standard of living, because business provides employment. Business produces various commodities, and which makes the person to purchase those commodities. As a result, the society develops. When society develops, automatically we say that the standard of living is, in that way we call business as a social. Like that, when we put the features in nutshell, we say that it is an economic activity. We say it is done with profit motive. We say that in isolation business cannot be done, but in fact there should be continuity of transaction, and that continuity of transaction, it must be in sense of dealing with goods and services. And when we deal with goods and services, it leads to utility. The sense it creates various types of utility. Business should be done with certain skills and talent, so that it is an art. It should follow certain principles, certain rules, and thereby it becomes science. As it helps in improving your social society with standard of living, providing employment opportunities and all, we put them in the category called social. Like that, we have few features of our. Now coming towards the objectives of business. What does the word objective it mean? Objective in the sense, the word objective it means certain goal. Every person in the life has a goal, an object. Well, say for example, how to understand. When a football player is playing in the ground, his focus is on the net where he can do the goal. In the same way, every businessman has certain objectives. Every businessman has certain goal, and that goal has to be accomplished, because profit is the criteria. Profit is the main element of development of business. So here we'll take the emphasis to learn what are the objectives of business. We group the objectives of business into four different categories, like your economic objectives, social objectives, your human objectives, and your national objectives. Four categories we have, and each category will give you a different set of objectives. First, when we talk about the economic objective, first we talk about economic objective. So under economic objective, economic objective. So coming towards the various objectives, as I said, there are four categories of objectives. One we call economic objective, social objective, your human objective, and your national objective. These are the four groups of objectives which we are going to discuss. The first objective under the economic objective is earning of profit. Already in the characteristics we saw that profit is the basic element of every business. But it should not be that you are going to earn profits by using the malpractices. You are not supposed to follow unfair practices. So the objective says that earn the profit but with proper means. Follow the proper, charge the proper price and earn the profit. Though profit is essential for the expansion, it should not be that we are going to earn profits by deceiving the customers, by charging high price or giving them wrong weights and measures. Then the second objective is creating the customer. Customers are most important element for the business. Without customers, we cannot think of business at all. Thereby, how to create the customers? To create the customers, we need to enter into the heart of the customer. We need to come into the contact with the customer, and that customer has to be created by adopting the innovations, the sense doing the things which are already existing but in a new manner. Say for example, we are having today we are using CFL bulb. CFL bulb is nothing but it is the innovation of the traditional bulb. Like that, every business must adopt the innovation. They should follow the new techniques. They are supposed to use the modern techniques so that they can prepare or produce more popular products, more modernized products. And then comes the optimum utilization of resources. Whatever resources are available, whether it is men, material, or your money, these resources should be optimally utilized. In the sense, to the best, they are to be utilized because wastage should not be there. How optimum, how minimum, how maximum we can use these resources for conducting or producing the goods and services should be the focus of the business. Then comes the social objective. Here the objective under economic was to earn the profit, but alone the social economic objective is not the criteria. Social objective says that, as I said, we need to create customers. How the customers are to be created then? To create the customers, the first essential is you are supposed to supply the goods and services, and that too the desired goods and services at reasonable price. The best quality, the best product, and that is possible with the help of innovation. Innovation, in fact, it reduces your cost of production. When the cost of production is reduced, automatically we can supply the product, the quality product at reasonable rate. Then the employee, we know that production is possible only because of employee, that is worker. Every worker in the business, every employee in the business should be fairly remunerated for the work what they do. The amount what you pay, it should be on par with the work done. It should not be the peanuts. In the sense you extract lot of work, but when we pay very minimum. No, that should not be there. Fair remuneration should be given. In the sense salary, wage, whatever you are giving, give them fairly, along with certain incentives, certain benefits that will boost the morale of employee, that helps employee to work more for your organization. And business should be in a position to develop employment opportunities, more and more employment opportunities. The sense business should focus on expansion. When the business is expanding, automatically it will generate more and more employment opportunities, and that generation of employment opportunities will result in society development. Then comes the promotion of social welfare. The sense every business must provide all the safety measures to their employees with regards to the health, with regards to the maternity, with regards to the child care. Like that, good facilities, the social welfare aspect should be considered. And then comes the most important one is be loyal to your government. Every business should be honest, should be loyal, should be judicial in paying of taxes to the government. We should not deceive the government. We should not take the undue advantage of not paying the tax to the government. Every business organization should pay the taxes. whether it is income tax, sales tax or GST, whatever, that tax which is applicable to your business should be paid on time. Like that we have the social objectives. Then coming to the human objective, which is very closely related with the employee. So these human objectives, they focus on welfare of the worker. Here we said pay the fair remuneration. Paying the remuneration is not the criteria alone. Remuneration with welfare is important. In the sense, we need to provide a very good atmosphere to the employee who are working. According to the work, we need to give them the atmosphere so that they can work. Welfare here, it includes like providing with the canteen facility, providing with the crèche for the women employee and so on. So that the welfare. Along with that, giving them the facility of provident fund, giving them the facility of ESI. This all it is included in the welfare of the worker. Then comes developing of human resource. It means that we know every employee has certain potentiality. Every employer, that is every business organization, should trace what are the qualities and the capabilities of the particular person. And that capabilities should be extracted from the employee, and time to time they should be given with the proper training. They should be provided with the workshop. They should be provided with the seminar so that they can overall develop. Then comes participative management. In the sense, allow the employee to involve in the management. Allow the employee to participate in the management. Give them the democracy. Give them the freedom to come and join, to raise the voice, to give their opinion so that the total industrial democracy can come. And that will help you to bring about a very good relation of labor and the management. There won't be any problem in future if you allow a very healthy atmosphere for the employees to involve in the participation of the decision making, or it may be any other aspect. Then comes the national objective. That is, what should be the objective towards your country. When you are conducting the business, it means that you are conducting business for the development of your country. So, first thing is we need to utilize the natural resources in the best possible manner. Do not harm the wildlife. Do not harm any of the natural resources. In the sense, of course, when we conduct business, there is every possibility that there may be some sort of harmness which will be caused to the natural resources. But we need to take all the precautionary measures that whatever resources we are using them to the best manner. Whether it is your wildlife, whether it is your natural, whatever other part of the life. Then comes national self-reliance. In the sense, every country has to be self-reliant, and that is possible only if we produce enough goods for our country, and that particular country is in a position to provide the goods to other countries. The sense, when a country is called self-reliant, when the exports are reduced, no, when imports are reduced, and when exports are increased, in that situation we call that a country is self-reliant. And proudly we say that India is a self-reliant country today because it is in a position to serve so many nations, especially with the agricultural output. Even with regards to technology, we can say we are self-reliant as on today. Like that, how this self-reliance and all is possible? This is possible if we give focus on development of MSME, micro, small and medium enterprise. This particular topic we'll discuss in the last chapter in detail about MSME. For time being, these MSMEs are to be established in those areas which are called as the backward areas, so that this particular MSME, they facilitate in production of goods at great or large scale, and that MSME establishment will help in developing the backward areas. That is to call, there will be no rural imbalances. That will reduce your rural imbalance. In that way, every business should focus on the economic objective, social objective, human objective and national objectives.